single voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everybody. Great to have all of you here. Hello, Mavericks. The Trump-Putin Peace Summit. The preparations are underway, according to Russia, and we're seeing other developments with the Ukraine war. Some sort of a deal being maybe cooked up, finalized even on the mineral rights that Trump is looking for out of Ukraine. We're going to dig into that tonight. Trump speaking at CPAC. Elon Musk playing hardball with government employees. Yeah, going even harder. We'll tell you what he said. And Tom Homan talking about the war that, well, I'm going to call it the new war on drugs. It isn't just Canada. It isn't just Mexico. It's global in scope. All these people saying all we have to do is secure the border and all of our problems with Trump go away. Just clean up the drug problem. Yeah, right. Maybe you're not old enough to remember the war on drugs. I remember. I remember how it went. And I see where we're at today. That's bullshit. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So first up tonight, we're seeing reports out of Russia first, saying that a Trump-Putin peace summit of some kind is imminent. And we're also hearing from now the White House press secretary that a deal of some kind is possible even within the coming week. This breaking news. And here's Caroline Levitt.
How soon we can expect Putin-Trump meeting, and where? Will it be in Saudi Arabia or any other place?
I don't have anything to detail or to read out. Right now, the president, his team are very much focused on continuing negotiations with both sides of this war to end the conflict, and the president is very confident we can get it done this week.
What makes him confident?
What do you think it'll take this?
So the question is, did she mean they can get the meeting done this week or get a deal done this week? My guess is what she really meant is they're going to get a meeting done this week, but we're seeing media reports out of Russia saying that a settlement deal might be within reach this week. Here, I can show you. Here's Sputnik news service. There it is. Top left-hand corner, Trump very confident U.S. can get Russia-Ukraine settlement deal this week, according to the White House press secretary. I don't know. We'll have to see if there's more details come out on this story tonight. But you heard what I heard, and what I'm hearing is what we heard, which is a little murky. Trump really pivoting hard on this compared to where Biden was at, and a lot of concern over in Europe. Also, you may have noticed, if you scroll up over on Sputnik, see that headline there? Starlink shut down, a ticking time bomb for Ukraine's armed forces. There are concerns that, possibly the United States might just cut all funding, all aid, everything to Ukraine. And in addition to that, there are concerns that as Europe tries to backfill, they're not sure if the United States will even allow Europe to buy weapons at this point, U.S. weapons, which could leave big holes in the Ukrainian defense capabilities. And Europe would not be able to fill in some of those gaps because the types of kit that would be available, not produced in Europe at this point. A lot of reasons for that. It's and this goes back to Trump saying that the Europeans have to kick in more. They need to basically take care of themselves. It's the same as him pointing his finger up here at Canada and saying that we don't pay our fair share and we don't have enough to defend our country. The United States put all of its Western allies in that position, really, after World War II, and certainly after the fall of the Soviet Union, and certainly after 9/11. If you look over at Europe, for instance, after 9/11, the European countries shifted their focus away from Russia and focused on integrating their military capabilities into what the United States had and assisting with the war on terror after 9/11. And that meant that they focused on replenishing different kinds of aircraft, different kinds of munitions. They were not as concerned about a threat from Russia at the time. They were more focused on making sure the United States was backed up with the kinds of aircraft, for instance, that the U.S. would need for support for its Air Force. So instead of more fighter jets, there were like more carrier aircraft to get equipment to different countries by air, refueling tankers, things like that, instead of fighter jets. So that was this was stuff that happened over many decades. And that's why you have sort of the situation we're in right now. And even if you look back at history with regard to Canada, Trump points to Canada and says, you guys, you're too weak. You can't even defend yourselves. Well, that's because the United States never wanted Canada, would never allow Canada to become a major military power, because the U.S. doesn't want a major power of any kind sitting on its border. They have been focused on being the dominant superpower. That's why the Avro Arrow back in the 1960s was ultimately scrapped. It was a fighter ahead of its time. It was beyond state of the art. And it was one of the things that could have propelled Canada to major military power status. And we would have had the beginnings of our own industrial base for the production of arms and sophisticated weaponry. The United States didn't want the competition, and they didn't want any possible threat sitting right on their border. So there was pressure applied, and there are varying views on this history, but that is certainly one factor that came into play when the Avro Arrow was ultimately scrapped and all those workers were laid off, and Canada never realized that dream. Today, look at the position we are in. And would the United States, as much as Donald Trump gives us this bluster about Canada not pulling its weight and not being a significant military power, does he really want us to arm up? Is that really what he wants? No, it's not what he wants at all, is it? He wants to take over the country. And how is he doing that? Well, he's using tariffs. He's using, as he puts it, economic force. But more than that, they're also, in my view, and I think the evidence supports this, they're using international lawfare and social issues like the drug issue to create a justification for actions that they want to take against any country they want to take at any time, any kind of military action. Specifically, this new war on drugs, the border crisis, immigration, terrorism, you've got terrorists up there in Canada. You've got terrorists down there in Mexico. What kind of terrorists? Drug terrorists. You've got a terrible problem with drug cartels, now classified as terrorist organizations, terror groups. As a result of that, you now have, at least in the view of the United States, and maybe to some degree internationally, the United States then has some sort of justification to launch even military actions inside the borders of other countries. Any country with terrorists within a stone's throw or even right across the border from the United States, oh, well, you have terrorists, they're right on our border, I guess we better take care of that. But is that really the case? Or is it a fabrication, an exaggeration? As Noam Chomsky says, is it manufactured consent? Well, manufactured consent in the sense that through an information campaign, they gin up public support for anything they want to do in that regard. And we've seen thousands of U.S. troops moved down to the U.S.-Mexico border. But it isn't just Canada. It isn't even just Mexico. In fact, they're saying it out loud at this point. Here's the border czar, Tom Homan, on the Jesse Waters show. He's saying that Trump is going to target 43 countries on this basis. I've been telling everybody here, we need to be very careful about what we agree to and what we acknowledge as being true in order to appease Donald Trump, who just makes numbers up on the fly to support any argument that he might have without actual verification or research or anything else. He just makes numbers up to make it sound like it's every problem is the worst ever, and every solution he comes up yields the most spectacular results in the history of humankind. Everything's over the top with him, if you haven't noticed. And doing something like this with the drug issue, he goes way overboard with everything. Are the numbers that he cites accurate? Is our government's numbers accurate? I've done the research into it. His numbers are way off base for just about everything that he talks about. The Canadian numbers, they're kind of in line, about 1% or less than 1% of all fentanyl going into the United States coming from Canada. But I'm seeing a lot of reports out there that now it's just gone crazy haywire the other way, where now I'm hearing people out there regurgitating this narrative that the majority of fentanyl going into the United States, the vast majority of it comes from Canada. Over the mountains. Yeah, all the precursors flow into Canada, and then it flows over the mountains and back down into the United States, where tens of millions of people die from fentanyl overdoses every year. And that's not true. Nowhere near. It's not even in the millions of a year. It's not even close to that. It's thousands, not tens of millions, as the press secretary asserted about a week ago. That's also just an exaggeration, and I think it's intentional to build up support for whatever it is this administration wants to do. And what do they want to do? Well, they've got their sights set on Canada, on Mexico, on 43 other countries. Let's go to this clip from Tom Homan. Don't take my word for it. He says it. He says it himself. Here we go.
Cartels are getting craftier. They're obviously trying to adapt to what you're throwing at them. You're seeing this video now. They're on boats. How have you seen the coyotes and the cartels kind of reorient their business to handle what you've done?
Look, they are going more maritime. We knew they would. That's why we've increased Coast Guard patrols 3 times, 3 times more than we have in the past. So Coast Guard will answer that call. So we're going to shut them down maritime too. Look, we're going to put them out of business. President Trump is designating them criminal terrorist organizations, which they should be. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in this world combined. President Trump will end up wiping them off the face of the earth. So we're going to put them out of business. You put them out of business, you take their money away. They can't bribe Mexican officials. They can't bribe anybody. Without money, they have no power. We're not just going to attack in Mexico. The Jalisco cartel, we're going to attack them in the 43 countries that have operations currently, operations in 43 different countries. We're going to attack them worldwide.
Worldwide. So it's a new worldwide war on drugs? Worldwide war on drugs. What could go wrong? I smell something. What is that I smell? A worldwide war on drugs. 43 countries initially targeted. And people think that it's the Canadian border that's the problem. Like what? Drugs are a new problem? No. You're gonna solve the drug problem? President Trump is gonna wipe out all the drug cartels? Wipe them off the face of the planet? Do you believe that? Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's an addiction, there's an extremely strong will. Oh, yeah. You think you're going to stop people from... You're going to stop addicts from getting what they want? You think you're going to stop all the drug dealers in the world with a worldwide war on drugs? You want to talk about wasting money? No, there's more going on here than a worldwide war on drugs with Mr. Tough Guy Tom Homan. He's gonna just crack down. We're gonna wipe the drug cartels off the face of the planet. Yeah, okay, tough guy. He looks so tough, eh? Yeah, he looks so tough, that guy. Goes around, tough guy. Going to Chicago. Gonna show them a thing or two, and then put all those nasty, dirty immigrants in chains, shackles. Deport them all. Oh yeah, gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling all over. can't wait till President Trump and Tom Homan solve the worldwide drug problem with their worldwide war on drugs. Just get in there and just do whatever the hell you want in 43 different countries. Screw their sovereignty. Who cares? Borders are no object when you're chasing down drug terrorists. I'm sure that their intentions are noble. Their execution seems to be a little sloppy. Holman spoke at the CPAC convention today. Sounds pretty tough there, too, tough guy. We're back. Yeah, tough guy, Tom Homan. Let's go back here. We lost our feed again, but we're back, I think. Hate it when that happens. All right, let's go listen to Mr. Tough Guy at CPAC, where the tough guy talks tough, using tough language and a tough voice, and now he's going to go to Boston, I guess, and show him how tough he is there. Go ahead, tough guy.
21,000 people in the nation. Gotaways. Under President Biden, the gotaways, 2.2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested because the border patrol was too busy making sandwiches, changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs, dealing with humanitarian crisis. 2.2 million people crossed the border and weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted. We had about 1,800 a day in 2023. You know how many we had yesterday? 48. You're talking about 2,000 miles of border and only 48 people escaped, but that's 48 too many. I'm not going to be happy if that number is 0. Now we're getting a question, well, you said you're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats, but you arrested 9 criminals. Yeah, damn right we did. Because you're in the country illegally, which happens to be a violation of our law. Entering this country illegally is a crime, and we're not going to forgive it. Into sanctuary cities, game on, because Pam Bondi's back into place. And Kash Patel is back running the FBI.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, I'll tell you why, okay? Because Trump is being a dick. All right? And you people, like you, need to wake the hell up. It's like you have Trump derangement syndrome. You're the ones with the Trump derangement syndrome. The guy's kicking you in the balls, getting ready to take over your country, and you're all like, okay, he can do no wrong, and I don't take it laying down. When someone kicks me in the teeth, I fight back. That's why. And when tough guys go around picking on weak people, I stand up for the weak people because I'm a maverick and I'm not afraid. And I'm not mindless and I don't follow people like an automaton. I don't just follow. I always try to do what's right. I stand up for the weak. And when people are acting like bullies and meanies and tough guys, when they're not really that tough, when they're more about photo ops than doing what's right for people, when they make, fancy videos of guys doing action shots in their boats and then finding ways to do end runs around the sovereignty of other nation states, not just Canada, but now 43 other nations. Yeah, I stand up and I say something stinks. There's something seriously wrong in the goddamn White House. But if you want to lay down like a coward and let your country be overrun by an authoritarian thug, I'm not with you. You want to stand up for what's right, stand up for your country, stand up for justice, stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, then you're in the right place. And how do we do that? By using our voice, our voices. And you call out the BS, and you call out wrongdoing. You stand up for individual rights and freedoms. You stand up for what Western society was built on. Freedom. What he's doing down there right now is the opposite of freedom. But all you guys with your TDS, you think that anybody that criticizes him has TDS. No, it's all the people who are so blinded and so afraid to say anything because you're afraid the Trump mob will attack you that you can't stand up and say anything because you're too frickin' afraid. And that's the truth. It's hard. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and use your voice when somebody on either side, I don't care whether it's Trudeau or Trump, but when they do something wrong, it's my job to call it out. This is optics. Mr. Tough Guy standing up there at CPAC. That's not professionalism. I've dealt with law enforcement a lot over the years. And when they go around acting tough like that, that's not professionalism. That's not about public safety. That's not about defending the Constitution or people's rights. That's bluster, showmanship, bullying, intimidation. That's not professionalism. What I want to see from military leaders, from police officials, public safety officers of all kinds, I want to see professionalism. Doing what's right for people. And I'm disgusted by what I'm seeing. Absolutely disgusted. And you should be too. And especially when they're doing it to you, you should have some damn self-pride. And some pride in your country. All these years of being told to be ashamed of your country as they tear down your statues. And now Trump comes along, kicks you in the teeth, threatens tariffs, and all I'm hearing from people up here, well, not all, but some of us are up here saying, it's all our own fault. Yeah, we should be ashamed of ourselves. What the hell is wrong with you? Self-flagellation all over again. You're failing the test. We've been tested over and over and over again, and people keep failing the test. And the guy literally proclaimed himself king this past week. A meme? I don't think so. I mean, that in itself disgusts me. The White House promoted it. Put out a picture of Trump wearing a crown. Did you not see it? How would you react if Justin Trudeau put out a picture of himself wearing a crown? You'd lose your frickin' minds. And rightly so, because we live in a democracy. But that's not Justin Trudeau doing it. That's Donald Trump. Did anybody see that? Did anybody see it? Let me see if I can find a picture of El Trumpo in his stupid crown picture. Here it is. Right here. Long live the king. I think this was something he put up because he took action to prevent some tolls or something from being charged in New York State someplace. I'm not sure of the exact story around it. I just know this thing came out. And you think he's fighting for your rights? He's taking your rights away. So I don't care if it's him, Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Joe Biden, Keir Starmer. Doesn't matter. If somebody's doing something wrong, it's my job to call it out. These guys, there's something seriously wrong over there. Look, yeah, the United States is not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. Yeah, that's kind of part of the problem too, isn't it? People here who are advocating for Canada to be turned into a republic, give your head a shake. Again, if Justin Trudeau came out and signed even one law into existence, arbitrarily, unilaterally, people would lose their frickin' minds. In fact, he's been accused of doing that just because of the prorogation of Parliament, which few people really understand, and there's a lot of hyperbole surrounding the reasons behind that. But some people believe that Trudeau is in there ruling like a dictator because of prorogation. Name me one law that Trudeau has passed unilaterally, just even one, an executive order, since prorogation. Zero. How many has Trump issued with his Sharpie? Hundreds. Is that democracy? No, not really. And as they challenge him in the court, he's flooding the system with more executive orders. So many that you can't keep up. That's the strategy. Not because he's strong, because he's weak. He doesn't really have enough support from the people. So he rules by dictate. No Congress, no Senate, just executive orders. What I say goes. And yeah, you're damn right, that's not democracy. And the United States is a republic, but it's still a democratic, or supposed to be a democratic country. They're supposed to be, you're supposed to have free and fair elections, which are now very much manipulated and skewed through information warfare and other methods by all sides. So I don't know how you can even say that these elections we've had these last few times have been free and fair, because they're certainly not free and fair. They're not immune from manipulation. And I'm not talking about even the ballots and the Dominion voting machines. No, it's much more sinister than that. It's insidious. It's manipulation of your mind. Our minds. I'm not immune. I resist it every day. Having worked in media all my life, I kind of recognize this stuff, I think, a little bit more than most people, just because I've been immersed in media, trained in media. I know how media works. I'm a media guy. I have been since I was a kid. But it's not right. And that's why our democracy, whether it's a republic or a dominion like Canada, a constitutional republic, or a parliamentary democracy like we have here in Canada, which I think is a better system. Regardless, people need to have free will. And I would like to think people can go to the polls with proper information, good information, to make truly educated decisions on who they vote for to represent them in government. Yeah. I am a good guy. And I am here standing up for freedom, for justice, for truth. Well, what's truth? Yeah, see, that's a difficult thing, isn't it? Depends on perspective. And now you're starting to get into very complex philosophical questions. But I do know lies sometimes when I see them. And I see bluster. And I see injustice. I see threats to democracy and freedom. And they're clear and present right now, and they are a danger. You know, this is the thing, all right? Like, Mexico is seeing the threat as well. The president of Mexico. Here, let's do a little Twitter scroll. X scroll. I'll show you. Look, I want you guys with me. But I need people to open both eyes. And that means trying to see all sides of things. Here's Seize the Day before we get into the Twitter scroll. Rick, you said on stream, Trudeau was bringing Carney close because he feared his enemy taking his spot. You still see it that way? I never saw it that way. It was obvious Carney was the next PM plan. No, I did see it that way. I don't see it that way so much now. I said that before Trudeau announced that he was stepping aside. And that was before the whole 51st state stuff really started and bubbled to the surface. So things changed in that way. But yeah, Trudeau was, in my view at the time, bringing Carney in because there were people within the party who wanted leadership change, and they saw Carney as a good replacement. And so Trudeau didn't want to leave at the time, in my view, so he brought Carney in and said, you can be the finance minister, because he was trying to neutralize the threat to his leadership at the time. And Carney, Trudeau, and Freeland, all three of them, they've all been pretty close, especially Carney and Freeland. So yeah, it wasn't that he was his enemy; it was that he was an heir apparent, and in that way, sort of a threat to him as leader, to his career, his political career. So yeah, that's the reason I saw it. It wasn't like he viewed Carney as like his arch enemy. He was a rival, and at the same time an ally within his own party. That's why I viewed it that way. Anyway. And Isabel, was that Isabel saying what's not right? And Lokilis, Rick, you went full liberal. You know what? I'm not a liberal in the sense that I'm a liberal party liberal. Not at all. And I'm not liberal in the sense that I'm woke or progressive in that way. But I'm what you would characterize as a classical liberal. I believe in the Enlightenment. I believe in individual rights and freedoms. I believe in those liberal democracy principles that Western society was based on. And those are all principles and ideas, concepts, standards that have applied to Western society for people across the political spectrum, you know, whether you're conservative, a New Democrat, a Democrat in the States, a Republican, a progressive conservative, any of these political flavors all fall into and have fallen into that idea of classical liberalism. That's what Western society is about: free markets, property rights, those kinds of concepts. So I'm absolutely a classical liberal. Most people have been. I'm not a communist. I'm sure not a fascist. And, but what I've seen going on, especially over the last 2 years, is a big shift, pushing people really out to the edges more. There's far more polarization politically, ideologically, and a lot of these labels don't apply anymore. And what we have going on right now is a war on liberalism. But when I say liberalism, I'm not talking about just like a war on the Liberal Party. What's going on with MAGA, what's going on even with where Putin and the political climate is at in Russia. There's actually there's this worldwide war on, you could say the worldwide war on woke, but it's more than that. It goes beyond that. It's a worldwide war on liberalism, classical liberalism. And that's because you're getting this, I've called it a convergence of communism and fascism. It's a populist movement, but the populism that I saw, say, when the PPC party in Canada was formed, not very many years ago, that was, in my view at the time, it was an offshoot of the then Conservative Party. But over time, it has morphed, it has evolved into something a little bit different, because you're getting people from across the political spectrum joining it, just like MAGA. MAGA today is not the MAGA we had during the first Trump administration, Trump 1.0. This is Trump 2.0, and MAGA has changed. The United States has changed. The political Overton window has shifted considerably. And you're getting that, that's being reflected even at CPAC. Now I've forgotten what it was I was supposed to go and show you guys, because I got off track and I'm just talking and talking. Maybe, oh yes, Scheinbaum. The threat to Mexico. They are, if this was just about the drugs, the president of Mexico would not be worried about the sovereignty of Mexico. But as we are right now, at least some of us, are concerned about Canadian sovereignty in the face of these threats from Trump and his 51st state rhetoric, so too is the president of Mexico worried about the existence of her country in the face of all this pressure from Donald Trump and the United States, because she knows this isn't just about drugs, a problem for which there really is no ultimate solution. You can combat it, you can mitigate it, you can stamp it down, you can reduce it, but you are never going to wipe it off the face of the planet. Bluster. Here's U.S. Homeland Security News. So I wouldn't say that's an official government X account by any stretch, but it says, update: Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is moving quickly to change the Mexican Constitution to protect the cartels from U.S. attacks. Is she working for the cartels? Seriously? See, this is what she's up against. This is what we're all up against. That's propaganda. I don't believe for a second that the president of Mexico is changing the Mexican Constitution to protect drug cartels. What, to snub Donald Trump? To stand in defiance? Here's another one. What's this one say? Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum was elected by the cartel as a figurehead. all of her anti-cartel opponents were assassinated during the run-up to the election. I don't live in Mexico, but I'm skeptical of that. A lot of propaganda. Here's Mr. Guns and Gear. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, is threatening to sue more American gun manufacturers if president officially declares the cartels terrorist organizations. So it seems she's literally on the side of the cartels. We've long known Mexico's government was complicit. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, see, we're getting the same kind of rhetoric up here in Canada right now, too. Lots of posts like this, even from some of the politicians, saying that Canadian politicians are in the back pockets of the Mexican drug cartels and the Chinese drug cartels. You see, it's all... They don't like her because she is a left-wing politician. Trump really hates Trudeau because he's a liberal, both a big L and I would say a progressive liberal. For sure. But that's not a reason to invade a country, just because you don't like his politics. Not when you're not really truly a threat, but if you manufacture a threat by exaggerating things, then you can go bomb the hell out of them if you want to. Here's the president of Mexico addressing President Trump and these accusations, I guess, that she's just a drug czar herself.
Empiecen por su país.
She says, start in your own country.
Nosotros, claro que vamos a coordinarnos,
of course we will coordinate, she says.
Pero como lo dije el 5
I can't read past that.
de febrero.
Like I said in February, whatever, we will never subordinate or accept interventionism. Right, because you're a sovereign country.
Es coordinación.
It's coordination.
Segundo.
Second,
ellos tienen mucho que
they have a lot of work to do in the United States.
¿Cómo es que llegue el fentanilo?
How is it that fentanyl or any other drug,
o cualquier otra droga, que no está bien que pase ilegalmente,
which is not right that it enters illegally, and we do our job in our country.
Hacemos nuestro trabajo en nuestro país. Pero ¿cómo es que llega?
But how is it that it arrives? What happens after the border?
¿Quién opera
Who operates the distribution of the drug?
¿Quién vende la droga
Who
en las
sells the
ciudades de
drug that
Estados
has
Unidos
caused
que han
so many
provocado
tragedies
tanta
in
tragedia?
the cities of the U.S.?
¿Dónde va el dinero
Where
de
does
la
the money
venta de
go
esa
from the
droga
sale
en
of that
Estados
drug in the
Unidos?
United States?
¿Cómo es que hay
How is it there are weapons in Mexico that are for the exclusive use of the U.S.
armas
military?
en México de uso exclusivo del ejército de Estados Unidos? ¿Quién las vendió?
Who sold them?
¿Cómo llegaron a
How
nuestro
did
país?
they get to our country?
Entonces hay una parte
So there's a very
importante
important part
que
that they
ellos
have
tienen
to
que
do in their
hacer
own
en su
country.
propio país.
Right.
¿Cuál es la
What is the
distribución
final
final
distribution in
en
the
las
streets of the
calles de
cities?
las ciudades? Entonces, ¿o qué?
What are there? No cartels there? Exactly.
¿No hay cárteles allá?
Yes, there are lots.
¿O delincuencia organizada allá? Entonces,
So we collaborate, we coordinate, we get together and work together.
Nos reunimos, trabajamos juntos. Pero siempre vamos a
We
defender
will
la
always
soberanía.
defend our sovereignty. She's worried about the United States invading her country, possibly using violence.
Entonces, hay una parte
There is a very important part that they have to do over there. Very
muy
important.
importante que ellos tienen que hacer allá. Muy importante.
She's right. The United States has no jurisdiction in Mexico, just because Donald Trump says so. The United States really doesn't have the authority to simply rename the Gulf of Mexico unilaterally. but he just does it. He wills it into existence using his power. Do you see what he's doing? He's taking a problem, amplifying it, using economic force, threats of economic force, tariffs, to get the politicians, bureaucrats to acknowledge or agree with his version of reality, which is to say that there's this massive drug problem on the border and that all the drug problems in the United States are the fault of Canada, the United States, and 41 other countries around the world. That it's all our fault. Instead of taking responsibility for his own actions and for his own country. Blame it on somebody else. Externalize the problem and create an enemy so that he can deflect any blame for himself, just deflect it onto us. Brilliant politics, very dangerous for a lot of human beings. He was talking about going into Mexico and bombing drug cartels during his first go-around in the White House, but some sane people were there and said, you can't really do that. Wouldn't be good. Like, he literally wants to do that. And he's not stopping there. And our politicians, our police services, you should be thinking very carefully about what you're saying. Because when you say, oh, yes, sir, Mr. President, yes, we have a problem. We have this massive problem with Mexican drug cartels in Canada. Make sure you're accurate with your numbers. I would say, tell the truth. Don't let him and his exaggerated numbers become the reality, because it's not about the drug problem. It's about justifying any kind of action that he wants to take against our country in the days, months ahead. And he's already talking about taking over Canada, making us the 51st state, annexing us. First with economic force, and maybe something more. And he's not ruling out, and it looks like he's getting ready to use force in some of these other countries. He's got troops into position. Now, I'm not advocating for any kind of... I want the drug problem to stop too. But let's keep things in proper perspective and keep the blame where it's supposed to be. Accept some personal responsibility. I'm worried about this. You should be too. We all should be. And Deborah says that Dragon's over on Rumble saying, according to YouTube, I haven't gotten my check from Rick's calling. Yeah, well, it's in the mail, I guess. It's escalating. This is just... Scheinbaum is right. We don't pay enough attention to Mexico. And I'll tell you this too, if you've ever traveled in the United States, Americans don't pay much attention to us up here in Canada. Even you just cross the border into Detroit, and people over there, we're not even on their radar. They're so introverted. They so much navel gazing going on in the United States. They have no idea what's going on up here. So when I listen to the propaganda on the U.S. side, where they're being told that we're, literally fighting for our lives up here in Canada against a tyrannical government that's got us still locked down, and they make it sound like it's just hell on earth up here every day. we've got problems, but I don't know if you pay attention to the way Canada is portrayed down there right now in some circles. There's a lot of propaganda down there just creating this idea that Canada needs to be liberated. We don't need to be liberated by the United States. Because I'll tell you, I've traveled a lot in the United States. I've spent a lot of time down in the US. And the problems they have down there are way worse than the problems we have up here. They have, a lot of very wealthy areas, and I love the United States. There's a lot of really great stuff going on down there, but they have really serious social problems. They have a lot of violence. You want to talk about drug problems? They got way worse drug problems down there than we do here in Canada. And it's just a wide open, right out there on the streets. It's like everywhere. Even for years, I used to go over to Detroit all the time, especially, things have improved in many parts of Detroit. So hats off to the people of Detroit for turning, especially some of those areas down around on Woodward Avenue, turning some things around in a really positive way in their community. And I love Detroit, but man, especially in the 80s and the 90s, I used to go over there. I used to intentionally go through some of the really burned out areas of the city, like literally burned out. And they would burn buildings down on Devil's Night, the night before Halloween. It's still a problem over there, but man, like just the number of arsons, the fire department couldn't keep up. They've got problems on the U.S. side. So stop pointing your finger up here at Canada, Mr. Trump. Fix your roads before you start criticizing Canada, because there are a lot of places all through the United States where you've got potholes so big you could drive a bulldozer into them and it wouldn't come out because they're like a black hole. I don't know how much traveling you guys have done, but man, some of the infrastructure in the States, it's falling apart. They've got serious problems down there. Why the hell do I want to join the U.S.? And why would I want to join the United States right now when it's a nation that's now in decline because of Trump? He's basically forfeited his leader of the free world status because the majority of free nations, free Western nations, no longer respect him. And he's not taking a leadership role anymore. I mean, Russia's openly talking about the United States and possibly removing troops from Europe. Maybe some people think that's a great idea, but you're not the world leader anymore. You're not the protector. And see, that's what's wrong. I think Isabel posted a thing in the chat there saying, what is wrong? I don't know if that was directed at me, but I'll tell you, that is what's wrong. Because Trump has shifted. It's not about Trump protecting anybody now. It's like it is a protection racket for him. It's not about protecting the free world. It's about making people pay. And it's about pulling out, looking out for number one, and then instead of protecting, it's about attacking. Attack, 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 attack. Because he's seems to me he has imperialistic expansion syndrome. I'm going to take over Panama again. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to take Greenland. Then I'm going to take Canada and maybe Mexico while I'm at it. And now we're going to not respect the sovereignty of 43 nations in total. And I've got a problem with this, folks. I just do. And the guy, he likes to win, but he don't know how to lose. He's not gracious. at all. And this isn't about whether you like Trudeau or you hate Trudeau. It's about Donald Trump not having any class, losing the Canada-USA hockey game. And instead of just being gracious in defeat and being a good sport, he comes out with this crap. Listen to the way he talks. This is what's wrong in the White House.
We won the first game, and the second game was a great game. It could have gone either way. Justin's a loser, always has been, and he's just a guy that really doesn't. I think he's done a very bad job for Canada. He's taken it radical left. Justin's sort of a nice guy, but he's a loser.
Flip it around. Would Canadians accept Trudeau or Poilievre or anyone else, any other prime minister, regardless of who it might be, in the past or in the future? Would we have ever, or would we ever tolerate a prime minister calling the president of the United States a loser like that? So why is it okay for him to do it to our prime minister, regardless of who it is? It isn't. It's not acceptable. I can sit here and use stronger language because I'm punching up. And it's not my job necessarily to be diplomatic that way. My job is to sit here and criticize and to call people out, call out politicians, hold their feet to the fire, hold them accountable, as we all should. But for that guy to sit there and use that kind of language, trailer trash talk, it's gross. And then I see people saying, but any politician that says anything about standing up and defending Canada, they get kicked in the shins, criticized. No, stand up. If there was ever a time to stand up for your country, not here, my friend. No. I'm sorry, Robert. He can try to be America first down there if he wants, but it won't be America first here in Canada. Not if I have anything to say about it. Not like that. Nope. And what else we got going on here? Scrolling through the chat. Yeah, it is terrible, isn't it, Merrick? Like, that is absolutely horrible, says Merrick. I never heard him say that before now. That's terrible. It's terrible. If Trudeau, Poilievre, Jagmeet, like any Danielle Smith, doesn't matter. Doug Ford came out and said, yeah, he's a loser. It didn't just with regard to the hockey game. That's not the way it works, man. You're supposed to, you can have, a fun banter back and forth. You can make a challenge, even make a bet with the other leader about whose team is going to win, and you can use it as a diplomatic tool and joke about it and have some fun. And it's some sort of a challenge, and then maybe even use that to generate donations for charity or something, to do something positive with it. But what does Trump do? Justin's a loser. Yeah, you lost, pal. I pointed that out last night in my opening address here on the broadcast. I pointed out that Trump is really he's been challenging the very existence of Canada, just as he is denying the existence of the Gulf of Mexico. And that's dangerous. Because if you convince enough people that a country isn't legitimate, that it isn't real, you can actually erase its existence. It is real. It's real because we all support it, because we are part of it, and it is part of us. It is more than just a concept. It is something that is very real because we make it real. Any country begins as a concept, as a construct, just an idea. And then it's the will of the people that makes a country a real thing, because it is the energy and the collective will of the people supporting the concept that makes it a real thing. And the systems that come from that we all support and benefit from and contribute to, the laws that we put into place, that we recognize and establish, and the legal precedents that flow from that, and the rule of law that is then established, because it is the people who stand behind it and support it and legitimize it. It's the support of the people that legitimizes the country. But if you let some thug or some charlatan, some Decepticon convince you that your country isn't a real thing, then you can destroy the country. You can even take the country over without firing a single shot. But the other night, when we played hockey as Team Canada, it wasn't just the players on the ice. It was all of us. It was Canada. It was one nation against another. The concept of one nation against another. Like it or not, politics is injected into tournaments like that. Canada versus the USA. Both teams get their national anthems to play at the beginning of the game in the auditorium, broadcast out on television, satellite, all over the world, internet, everywhere, for people to hear those national anthems ring. But only one team gets its national anthem played at the end, the winner. And maybe it could have gone each way, but it didn't. It went our way. It went our way when it mattered most. And Team Canada stepped up, and that national anthem played for the whole world to hear, including Donald J. Trump, who had to listen to our national anthem, and that was an acknowledgement of Canada. And the message to the world at that moment was, we are here. Canada exists. Undeniable. You have to admit it. You have to play our national anthem. And that proves that we're a real country. We beat you. We beat Trump. And it wasn't just the hockey team, it was the whole country. Because do you know what it takes to make that happen? It took a whole country. It took generations of shinny hockey on frozen ponds. It took generations of young kids out there developing skills and new techniques through play. It took generations of organization, hockey moms and hockey dads taking their kids to arenas on Saturdays and Sundays and through the week. I remember playing travel hockey when I was a kid, and I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because ice time in the arenas was so scarce when I was a kid, and I had to go for a ride for 40 minutes, a 40-minute or 45-minute drive to an arena at 4 a.m. so that we could get to the arena by 6 a.m. for practice 2 days a week, weekdays, before going to school. And that's the way hockey programs were developed, and that's what it took. And it continues. And the skills development and the coaching clinics and the money that parents invest in all levels of hockey to develop the skills and the sportsmanship and the competitive nature and the tournaments and everything that comes from that, and the building of communities. And not just for boys, but for girls too. And Canada dominating the world, really, in women's hockey now. Because it took a whole country to put those programs together to help develop a sport and the programs to assist people to realize their full potential. To then put the best of the best of the best of the best of the best forward into a game like that where it all comes together at that one moment when it matters most for our country. Not with F-18s or tanks or ships. That one moment, man, where we didn't have to use an economic gun put to somebody's head to get them to do what we wanted. We didn't need to bomb somebody into oblivion or threaten them or call them a loser in order to make them acknowledge that we exist, that we're a real country, that we're Canadians, not Americans, that we have sovereignty and agency. That one moment when it all mattered the most, man. There have been moments like that through history. Paul Henderson's goal in 1972. Same thing. It's our game. And we share it. And sometimes we lose. And we are gracious in defeat. Even when it's our game. Because that's the Canadian way. And sometimes we boo when we're being threatened. When our very existence is being threatened. Yeah, Canadians booed because we're scared. And that's not fair play. So we booed. But man, we showed them. It wasn't just the players on the ice. It was all of us. All of us. And Donald Trump doesn't know how to lose. But we really know how to win. We are Canadian. That's enough for tonight, folks. We're going to figure this out. Love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side, here's Cosmo and Free Dog to take us out. See you tomorrow.
Well, I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of the blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the legs. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. His eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a word. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the legs.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.